Hey, this is the World Advice Channel 2. What I want to talk about today is a topic of do gang movies help promote the gang lifestyle? Okay? So when it comes to answering this question, that is a question that's been going on for easily decades now. The question of do gang movies help promote being a gang member? The simple answer to that question is no. I do not believe gang movies promote being a gang member by glamorizing lifestyle. Because the truth of the matter is, if anything, when it comes to answering that question that you hear all the time, especially, even when Boys in the Hood came out, people were saying, just glamorize the gang life, or and all the movies that have come out before, even since Boys in the Hood, you hear the same argument, okay? Oh, it's meant to glamorize the gang life. It just promotes the gang life. It promotes the gang life and it glamorizes it, yada, 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 the whole nine yards. You've heard a million times. The simple truth of the matter is, I don't believe that. And the reason why I don't believe that um, is that first and foremost, it comes down to basic common sense, if anything, okay? The truth of the matter is, most people who become gang members grow up in poor neighborhoods and poor, um, not just poor neighborhoods, but absolutely come from neighborhoods that don't really have much opportunity as well, okay, in the first place, okay? So that's the first point I get across. What makes people become gang members is a lack of money, okay? People might say this, people might say that, but ultimately it's lack of money, okay? It's a lack of money that they have, and so on and so forth, okay? That makes people become gang members because it offers an easy way to get out of the streets. The street life, of course, in Compton, LA, Dade County, and all those places. It makes things easier uh, for people who, of course, want to make money, for them to leave the gang life in honesty. So the truth of the matter is, when it comes to answering your question, absolutely, no, it does not promote it. Okay, because the truth of the matter is, when it comes to this type of topic that you hear about all the time, everything from the way the movie is shot, to of course the violence in it, it makes being a gang member seem interesting and fascinating. I always found it so weird. You hear those people who are proponents, or I should say, oppose is a better word to use when it comes to gang movies and opposing and all that stuff, yet you tend to never hear them acknowledge the fact that there's over millions of people, tens of millions of people, if not hundreds of millions of people who've at least watched a gang movie over the course of their life, and they have never, of course, reacted in a way that shows that they want to become gangsters, just like the whole Boys in the Hood movie. Okay, pretty much if you're black, okay, if you're black, and not just black, but if you're a black person who, of course, actually wants to associate yourself with the black community and so on and so forth, so it's not like an Uncle Tom, and wants to know your history, pretty much every black person has watched Boys in the Hood, especially people who are born in certain generations like Gen X, millennials, even Gen Z. That's considered a black classic. It even goes as far as people will say you're not officially black until you've watched that movie at least once, okay? And that's the truth about Boys in the Hood. It was a revolutionary movie for the time, and it's one of those movies that they say that if you black, you should have watched it. So easily, I'm certain there's a bunch of black people who've watched that movie, okay? Easily over, for African Americans, like 40 something million of them. So for the male population of a certain age, literally all of them have watched Boys in the Hood. Pretty much for that matter, okay? So that's the first thing to get across there, if anything, okay? When it comes to that particular topic, okay? Pretty much every black person's watched Boys in the Hood. So when it comes to that specific topic, okay, and you take in consideration that it's only a small percentage of black people who have actually committed a crime and all that sort of stuff overall, then what makes you think that for that matter, okay, for that to be quite blunt and honest with you, that it somehow makes people want to become gang members? It's such a stupid argument that you hear all the time. Most people who become gang members grow up in poor ass fucking neighborhoods. How many times do you actually hear people, especially people in general, black people, okay, who at least grow up in good neighborhoods, who are not going through a phase, actually become street, gang members because they watch, a few gang movies and say, oh, it's so cool to live that life? Barely anyone, let alone What about all the people who watch Italian mafia movies? There's easily tens of millions of people for certain who've watched Italian mob movies, okay? Whether it could be the Goodfellas, The Godfather, Scarface, yada 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 yada. Well, slash mob movies for Scarface, but you get the point. Like, watch movies full of crime, and how many of them actually wake up and say, you know what, I want to be a gang member now? How many? How many? There's numerous people. So to say that it somehow makes it more likely people are going to want to become that way when we literally look at it and the majority of people are law-abiding citizens, whether it could be hood movies or it could be, of course, mafia movies, yada 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 yada. Like when you look at those type of things right there, the fact that so many people watch that stuff and literally no one wants to become a gang member, that whole argument falls apart instantaneously. Not to mention, when you look at all those gang movies and stuff, specifically hood movies, because that's the main thing we're talking about here for this video today. The truth of the matter is, hood movies, the majority of hood movies, if not all, actually all hood movies, always show you the negative repercussions of being a gang member in the end of the day. Okay? Every single person is affected negatively. Even if they survive, they realize literally all their friends turn on them and they betray them and or they're dead or in jail, yada yada yada, the whole 9 yards. So how the hell can you say you're promoting something when all of them all end up dead and end up disappearing, for that matter, in some cases even, like it, or even the main character who's a main character in the movie ends up getting killed himself. Something's kind of not adding up here, and that's what I'm trying to say. So in short, hood movies do not glamorize being a gang member. If anything, they educate people on how stupid that lifestyle is and why you should just avoid it in the first place, if anything. So that argument falls apart instantaneously, for that matter, when you hear that argument, okay? And that's my first point. The second point that I want to get across when it comes to this whole argument, and why I don't believe it, is that all it's going to do is just create a left-right paradigm, okay? Which, to put it bluntly, history has shown this has happened numerous times, okay? Which a left-right paradigm pretty much means people who, or I should say, when people see things one way or the other, and because they see things one way or the other, it just creates some further division and causes more problems. And when it comes to hood movies, it should be no different as a result as a whole, for that matter, okay? The truth of the matter when it comes to hood movies, okay, is that all I feel is that if we try to make them banned or prevent them from happening, all it's going to do is just make it cool for people to actually watch hood movies, okay? Just like when I was growing up many years ago, especially for young people at the time, no surprise, kids used to sneak in their basements to watch movies and so on and so forth because, of course, there was such a stigma against watching it, okay? Because as the saying goes, especially which we know in the modern world, controversy sells. So just like, why is it every single time people bring up topics like controversy and stuff like that, it automatically gets more views? I'm actually a YouTuber, as of course, no surprise, you're aware, and I've actually watched videos discussing YouTubers and being a YouTuber, for that matter. And they say that actually you want to sometimes actually say certain things that relate to controversy, or a controversy going on, whatever you like to say, to sum it up, to focus on things related to controversy when it comes to videos you post, because it makes it more likely people will actually click and engage it. So in short, if you make a movie controversial, or movies of a certain genre, like gang movies, controversial, then it makes it more likely people are probably going to want to watch it because they think it's cool to watch it. Just like they try to ban weed, it actually made it more likely people were willing to try weed because they wanted to, try something that, of course, was against the rules. And for young people, especially since the 1960s, doing stuff against the rules is considered cool. So that's what I'm trying to say, though. Okay, so if we obviously try to prevent gang movies, then all it's going to do is make it more glamorous for people to watch them. And when those people, of course, watch those gang movies and all that stuff, which of course, if you ban gang movies, is going to create left right paradigm, is going to create people who have this other way of thinking versus this other group of people who have this other way of thinking, which not only causes division, it also causes more problems in a sense that the people who might watch gang movies and stuff might not tend to know the lessons of people who obviously in this case would be from the older generation might know because they don't pay attention to them, which makes it more likely that they might make bad mistakes, okay, and so on and so forth, okay. Just to give an easy example, it might be just like, for example, let's just say we ban, let's just say alcohol or something, and one generation is against alcohol usage, and a new generation starts consuming alcohol for the first time, okay, because they don't believe in what the older generation is saying. And then when the older generation, of course, the newer generation start consuming alcohol, they start making mistakes that the older generation would have never fall for because they themselves at one point were consuming alcohol. So it creates a division where people are not only getting along, but also knowledge is lost. So that's why right paradigms suck, and that's why we shouldn't be against gang movies, because all it's going to do is create left right paradigm and create more problems that we don't really need, especially being black with all the things we've been through. And this is all I have to say, and simply put them out. Bye.